Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome. This is Enterprise Weekend. Reaching you from Enterprise Television, I am Henry Igubike. Let's start today with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation also. Please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say at all times. You can always reach us when you visit us at EnterpriseTV7.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at EnterpriseTV7. Very so honored to have with me right here in our headquarters, Tochukwu Ezukama. He is a public affairs analyst and a development communicator. Good morning to you, Tochukwu.
Oh, good morning, Henry.
Thank you so very much for
Thank
your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's always interesting having you right here in our studios.
Yeah, I really like it. I really should each time you call me to your studio, invite me to your studio.
Thank you. All right, so I would love us to start the day with the first daily on our desk. This is coming from the Saturday Vanguard newspaper. On the top strip, we have role of kings not only to wear beads, acquire women. And that's coming from Ladoja. He is the 44th Olu Ibadan that was, of course, given the title a couple of days back. And equally on the top strip, we have Fuba dissolves a pension board constituted by a boss. Things are beginning to get back to normal. And this is why we always had called on the president not to have made the state of emergency possible in the first place, because this is really not telling good on the nation and that particular state. And we equally have Nigeria's economy at 65, how we missed the boat. And equally other interesting matters here. You have case to answer, court tells Nnamdi Kanu. But let's get to our talking point for today on the Saturday Vanguard newspaper. Trade fair demolition. I lost everything before my foreign partners. And that's coming from one investor and businessman, Magnus Ike. And we have a couple of writers to that particular story. We choose peace, not violence, and that's coming from Chief Eric. And traders allege selective exercise, say complex, is federal land. And Lagos defense action. Tochukwu, let's get to the demolition of the trade fair complex. About 19 buildings went down a couple of days back. It was heart-wrenching. It's something that you shouldn't even look at no point, because we still do not understand. Do we blame the investors? Do we blame the state government? Where do we narrow our minds to with all of this rascality on the part of the government and equally on the part of the investors?
Well, I don't know. And most of those demolitions, I do not have all the facts. And the problem with the Nigerian society is that people generally lie a lot. So the government lies, the investors lie. In some countries of the world, 9 out of 10 times when people speak, they are telling the truth.
Okay.
In Nigeria, 9 out of 10 times when people speak, they are lying. So it will be very hard. You can victimize the poor. But an investor who built these gigantic buildings, 19 of them,
yes, plazas,
is not a man you can readily victimize. He's a man that can go to court. He's a man that can employ the services of the best lawyers, and even give bribe to public officials if that becomes necessary. So that they are helpless and their places of business are being demolished. Their investments are being bulldozed. Something is not right on his own part, okay? The question is, do the government give the necessary, what do they call it? They give you papers to tell you we are coming.
Yeah.
Notices.
Okay.
Do they give the necessary notices? And if these people had the necessary notices, what did they do? Another thing against the government is that they could not have built these buildings without government officials knowing.
Very well.
Yeah. The government, because if you want to do a renovation to your building, by the time you move the door in front of your house, the next minute government officials
they're always there. They find a way to every nook and cranny. They make their way there.
So by the time you get into building the foundation, they know, and they allowed it, first level, second level, as the case may be. So they allowed it. There are a lot of factors come into play. It's possible that they built in the wrong place or built in the wrong way, but bribed public officials and they looked the other way. But if you're bribing people to look the other way, you better be assured that it can only be temporary. Because the man that ate your money, the man you bribed to look the other way, will retire sooner or later. And a new group of government officials will come. You might successfully bribe them. You may also be unsuccessful in bribing them. A new governor can also come and insist that things will be changed around. So I don't know who to blame. The generality of the Igbos want to believe that there's a vendetta.
And you think that there's none?
I don't have all the facts. There might be.
Okay.
Like I wrote an article saying that we are all guilty of tribalism. The Yoruba man is guilty of tribalism and maybe nursing some vendetta, some hatred against the Igbo man just because of his tribe.
Okay.
But the Igbo man is also guilty of tribalism and nurses hatred or vendetta against other people because of their tribe.
But at a situation where it cascades to the destruction of properties,
Yes.
don't you think we are taking all of this too far?
If it's, I don't know if it's the sole reason. It might be a factor. It might be a factor. But you go to equity with clean hands. The man that his property is being destroyed, has he done everything right? Has he played by the rules? And if he has played by the rules, he will not just sit down and watch his things get destroyed.
What would he have done? Take violence?
Even after it's been destroyed, you can go to court. There's so much you can do seeking redress. So the man that comes to bulldoze your things with that kind of impunity knows that there's nothing you can do. And why is there nothing you can do? Because you have done it not in line with the dictates of the law, but probably against the dictates of the law.
Emeka, Lagos has become notorious for some of this, abrupt demolitions here and there. Do you think Lagos is no longer a safe haven for investment? Remember, Landmark, who legally acquired that side of the beach, started his business, about $400 million was invested in that property. And when he was doing that, due diligence, according to him, were taken because ab initio, they knew that nothing was supposed to go through that terrain, that line. It was a safe ground for whatever it is. Then, since the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, everything turned around. They started saying that the Calabar Coastal Highway has to go through that. Landmark was demolished.
Is that a fact?
But it is not. Landmark was demolished, and they now turned around to realize that that road wasn't supposed to pass through there.
There might be a streak of tribalism. One thing is that people resent domination, especially when it's by outsiders. The Enugu Igbos for long resented Anambra Igbo domination of Enugu State. The economy, the Anambra Igbos owned a good chunk of Enugu State. Okay. And they resented it all along. And a man like Ono vehemently verbalized that resentment. Okay. He could have been murmured around, but Ono...
Ono is from Enugu proper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ono dramatized that resentment. Okay? People don't like domination, especially by outsiders. There was an Anambra bishop appointed by the Pope to become the bishop of Ahera. The Ahera people resented it. Yes. Both Catholics, non-Catholics, and even votaries of traditional religions gathered. We rather close all the Catholic churches in Ahera than allow an Anambra man to lord it over us. So it's human nature. Okay. So when the Yorubas do it, we scream. The Hausas do it, oh, it's genocide. A plan to wipe us out. But we do it and don't think about it. It's human nature. So it's possible there are some elements of tribalism in this bulldozing. there must also be some elements of politics. The Igbos supported an opposing a party in the previous election.
Yes.
These are natural human tendencies. But the man you are bulldozing his place, has he played by the law? Is he coming to equity with clean hands? Okada riders fought Fashola at a point to a standstill through the court system.
Okay.
Do you think that Igbo rich men, Igbo investors, cannot fight this government to a standstill, at least temporarily, through the court system? They are rich people. They can get the best lawyers that can stall the case. So why each time they seem so helpless? That's why I'm telling you that I don't know what is going on. You cannot be helpless when you are in the right. The Igbo man has one problem. We believe in that, paying our way through. That's why from Lagos to Onitsha, that's why from here to Ore, you don't see police. From Ore to Bini to Onitsha, concentration of policemen. Why? It may not be tribal.
Is it because the willingness to give is there, or is
the average Igbo man is in a hurry? Trader. Kedu ifeke na ndị police na-asụrụ oyibo ka ebu onye ọrụ oyibo nye n'ihe ego nụ ọrụ ego ka ọ chọọ? An Hausa man doesn't think that way. An Hausa man can pitch his tent there and sleep there 5 days until you're tired. Okay? 1. 2, an Hausa man that looks like a nobody, if you stop him at a checkpoint, wherever, he can tell you, hey, make I hold up for my brother. And you'll be surprised, you call a major in the army, a colonel in the army. I am Hassan Gasu. Why are you disturbing my brother? The postman start trembling. An Igbo man in trouble, call your brother who is a general, a captain in the army. So you see how cultures, mindset, values affect a people without their knowing it. The policeman doesn't care if the money is coming from an Igbo man or Yoruba man or Hausa man. He wants money. But because the Igbo's mindset, their attitude towards that facilitates the making of money by the police. That's why they line the place up. It's not tribalism, it's not hatred. It's money. These people, their mentality will make money from them. So in the same way in Lagos State, tribe is a factor. Politics is a factor. In that case, get your things right. Do not buy anybody, okay? Because the person you buy will be out of work tomorrow. A new governor come tomorrow, and whatever you bought will be made redundant, made irrelevant by new policies. So I think it cuts both ways. So we have to be very careful. There was an issue in Computer Village. A Yoruba developer wanted his tenants to leave so he can redevelop. And the story went, they are driving Igbos from Computer Village. I once wanted to publish a magazine for Computer Village. And I went in there and I see the workings of the place. Yorubas benefited a lot from Computer Village. There are too many Yorubas that sit around in Computer Village and make millions of naira doing something from the activities of the traders.
Yes.
So it's not solely an Igbo thing. They are driving
it's
the
a
Igbos.
value chain, actually.
Everybody benefits. Kai officials, the Aboros. So we better be careful. Those are factors, but they may not be the only factor. And when we keep blaming others for our problems and not looking inwards and saying, what have we done wrong? It does not help us.
But the Igbo man will say, "Apata etufu anaha abongananya," which literally means that you have and you frivolously give away would never make you rich. So how do you think going forward the Igbo man should treat investment in Lagos State? Should they be careful? Should they not invest? How do you think they can go forward? Because it doesn't make any sense after investing billions of naira and one government comes and they don't like your face and everything is wiped out.
The problem of the Igbo man is complex. What we are seeing are the symptoms of the Igbo man's problem. I once wrote an article and I said, the Igbo need a consensus. The Hausa Fulanis have a consensus, predetermined, even predetermined before Nigerian independence. And the same consensus still guides them. The Yorubas have a consensus determined way back, and they're still guided by the same consensus. The Igbo man had a consensus as determined by the Azikiwes, Ojuku's father, Saluwis, and the rest of them, that was destroyed during the war by Ojuku, the arrogance and selfish ambitions of one man, a 33-year-old man. Actually, you can call him a boy, 33-year-old boy. He fenestrated the advice of the elders, shoved the elders to the side, discredited them, called them saboteurs, called them betrayers, and went his own way. He led us into a ditch. Leading us into a ditch is bad enough. But what is killing the Igbo man most is the lingering grip of the Biafran propaganda on his mind. So that grip of the Biafran propaganda is not allowing us to reorganize. The Northern consensus is Northern hegemony. Wherever the Northerner is, irrespective of the way he's coming, he wants the North to dominate Nigeria politically, irrespective of his party. Whether he's a communist, a socialist, an anarchist, a nihilist, there's a common goal post that everybody's shooting towards. Ironsi called the Yoruba, not Ironsi, Ikoku once called the Yoruba consensus Yoruba irredentism. The closest word to irredentism is expansionism. A Yoruba man enters here today. He's a personnel manager. Stayed there 10 years, has Yorubanized the place. Everybody he brings in is a Yoruba man. So after 10 years, even if you look at, what are you doing here? This is wrong. This does not reflect national character. Doesn't reflect. You have to go. Yorubas have taken over that place. What is the Igbo man's consensus? We have no consensus. That is why wherever you come from, irrespective of what irresponsible, what suicidal message you bring to us, we follow you. So the Igbos need
that's a fallout to Chukwu, because if you take a look at it, it's a fallout of an experience. It hasn't been what it is before now.
That's what I told you.
Yes, because
the consensus was destroyed by Ojuku. Ojuku destroyed the consensus in Igbo land. And since after the war, we have no more consensus. This is not what I had said earlier. Yes. So without that consensus, you have no direction. Yes, you have no direction. So until we can have a consensus, have a direction, this is our goal in Nigeria. Not talking about Biafra, disintegration of Nigeria. Nigeria is not disintegrating. And even I can say that Nigeria cannot disintegrate. Now what we need to do is live in Nigeria and chart a path to success, to progress in Nigeria, just as the earlier Igbo leaders did. And Igbos dominated every spectrum of the Nigerian social life before the Civil War. It was worked out. It was by a strategy. It wasn't by chance. It wasn't by luck. So as long as we are on this individual mission, everybody to your tent, O Israel, it will not. We need a consensus. The Ohanezes, the whoever, they don't know what they are doing. They are serving their personal interests. Nobody is held accountable to anything. So what the Igbos should do is that we have to start going back home, okay? But in going back home, like one Okafo from Nnewi once said in an Igbo forum, an Igbo gathering, that long ago, there were 80 heavy industries. They called it heavy industry in Nnewi. But today they have all closed their doors. Only 6 are operating. What killed them? Kidnapping and armed robbery. And these kidnappers and armed robbers are not Fulani. They are Igbos. So the Igbos will get them. If you have a consensus, things like that will not be happening, because everybody has a direction, a unified sense of purpose. So until the Bakassi boys were called in at a point to protect business in Aba. Who were the robbers killing foreigners coming to buy goods at Aba, robbing people? It was Onitsha and the surrounding area, Idemili area, has the highest crime rate in Nigeria. To walk the streets of Lagos at 2 a.m. is safer than to walk the streets of Onitsha at 10 p.m. Who is doing that? Igbos. So we need to get ourselves together. Then we can make the next move. Until we do that, it will be this going forward, coming back, blaming others, catching hell, suffering, rising, falling. But there must be a consensus as determined by the Igbo.
Very well said, Tochukwu. But of course, the pain still lingers. Of course, those who have suffered that lost about 19 buildings, billions of naira invested in that property. And I just sincerely hope that the same property will not be sold yet to another Igbo man.
Are they going to, court?
Well, they are not. As much as I know, they are leaving everything to God. You know, which means that
the helpless leave everything to God. And God didn't even ask you to leave everything to him. You study the Bible, you see that men that God used, or men that work for God, were tough-minded, courageous individuals. God, they didn't live together. David said, I'm a shepherd boy. The tiger come to take my sheep. I fight him and kill him. He didn't say, and I'll leave it to God. To deal with Goliath, he didn't leave it to God. He summoned up the courage, took his stone, advanced towards him. So leaving it to God is a very dangerous way to live our lives. But I don't think their hands are clean, or they will go to equity for just. They come to equity with go to justice with equity. How is this saying?
He who comes to equity
must have clean hands.
Yes.
So they.
Yes. All right, so let's move yet to another story. This is slightly connected. Nnamdi Kanu was taken to court yesterday, I love to believe, and we have here, you have case to answer. Court tells Nnamdi Kanu. Tochukwu, this is like a transition from where we were coming from with the demolition of properties mostly belonging to the Igbo people, and yet we have another a brother who is still being held. There is nothing against him yet. He hasn't been incarcerated, like to serve his term for whatever crime he has committed. But do you think the lingering nature of his lockdown is simply because the Nigerian government fear that he might be more dangerous than it appears?
That's another case of coming to equity with clean hands.
Yes.
The Nigerian government may have bungled up the Nnamdi Kanu case, but Nnamdi Kanu doesn't have clean hands. He's a man that incited people to violence. He's a rabble-rouser that incited the mob and incited them to do things that are illegal, things that are violent. So he talked about stoning people to death. He ordered his followers to stone Nani Amudu to death. He ordered his followers to kill people. I listened to some of his
allegedly.
I listened to some of his tapes. And you see his picture, hear his voice. Everything in court, everything legally is allegedly until the person is convicted, proven. But so it's allegedly. But he said things like the lockdown is utter and complete. If anybody comes out, I know my people, they are very stupid. He will always characterize us as stupid. I don't know why he thinks he's all-knowing. They are very stupid. I know they will come out. If anybody comes out, burn him up and burn him up in that his store. Is that not criminal? That's inciting people to kill people. Yes. Burn people's stores and burn them up in the store. He says things like, we have guns at Edo. Go and take the guns, kill Nigerian soldiers. When you kill them, take their own guns, kill another person. Is that not criminal? Of course it's criminal. I can play God. I have the power to determine who lives and who does not live. I have this. That kind of, that's megalomania reaching a high pitch. The vulgarity, the mindlessness in his speech, the careless talk. So Nnamdi Kanu is not innocent. But on the other hand, he needs to be tried, convicted, and if not convicted, he should be released. It's dragging on and on and on, which is wrong.
Okay.
Which is wrong. But then he has no moral a standpoint. He has no moral authority to say, I should not have been arrested in the first place. I should not be in detention in the first place. So let them try the case as soon as possible. If he's innocent, let him go. If he's not innocent, let them jail him. But the problem with the Igbo man really comes up.
Yes.
Blaming others for our problem. Oh, release him. He is innocent. He has done nothing wrong. Blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing, though, let me remind you, there's nothing unusual. There's nothing wrong with a moral crusader or a social crusader going to jail.
Okay.
Mandela went to detention and jail so many times. And in his own word, he said, I quote, jail is jail for rapists and murderers. For me, it is a temple. He has chosen to be a moral activist, political activist, social activist, and was ready to pay the price. Martin Luther King Jr. says, jail clears you from the miasma of life. He was jailed, he was detained. And because of the role he has chosen to play, he was ready for it. So in Igbo land, you cause trouble and then run away and expect freedom. Ojukwu did it. The Ojukwu's reckless behavior, reckless declarations, reckless policies cost the life of at least 1.5 million Igbos or Biafrans. And in the end, he packed his things and ran away. So we are used to doing things, causing trouble, leading people to their death, ordering the death of others, and in the end, escaping. Sarah Wiwo died fighting for what he believed in. He traveled overseas so many times during the course of his fight with the federal government. He could have stayed over there and be issuing instructions to his men in Nigeria, but he returned. And as he told one publisher, one notable publisher, I know that sooner or later I will die, I will be killed. But before my death, I want to tell my story to the world. He told his story to the world, and his story found resonance. And that's why that the death of Abacha contributed, I don't know to what extent, to the death of Sarah Wiwo contributed, I don't know to what extent, to the fall of the Abacha government. But Igbo land will cause trouble and run away. So let Nnamdi Kanu take a stand and pay a price for his actions. What you sow is what you reap. So to sow mango and expect to reap orange, it's wrong. It's even against Igbo's traditional philosophical beliefs, you know. So let him stay there, make his case, and let the judge determine.
All right, so we hope that would happen, and as much as we wish that would happen, such that you know, everyone would be clear on that particular judgment, we equally would love to believe that we would possibly have a new right-thinking demography that would change the narrative in channeling the direction
Nigeria or in Igbo land.
In Nigeria, and equally from the Igbo sect also. You know, though I discussed with you, you know, before we started, you say it's like swimming against the tide.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need leadership, which we don't have. In Anambra State, there's no leadership. In Imo State, in Abia, the Abia man is doing well.
Yeah, they're beginning to get it right.
The Abia man
especially with Alex Oti coming.
Alex Oti.
Yeah.
It takes more than that to lead a people. You have to connect with them emotionally.
Okay.
You see, it takes more than building bridges and building schools and being incorruptible. Those are wonderful aspects of leadership, but there's much more to leadership than those.
All right. So let's get to the weekend trust just before we call it you know, who for this particular segment. Straight to the talking points today. Delegates walk out on Netanyahu at the United Nations General Assembly. Tochukwu, you need to see the viral video. While Benjamin Netanyahu was about to address, everybody literally walked out on him. But despite that, the young, would I call him a young man? He is
Netanyahu. He's in his
60s, yes.
75.
Oh, okay, whoa. So he was very adamant. He didn't care. So the question is, who then is holding on for him? Is it Donald J. Trump? Why is it that the United Nations, which was created for world peace after the fall of the World War II, is no longer the United Nations we all know today?
The United Nations cannot be much when it comes to dealing with the U.S. And the U.S. cannot be an independent-minded player when it comes to dealing with Israel. The Israeli lobby has a grip on American politics because of their control of the finance, the banks, the press, Hollywood, and indirect control of across the whole society.
So they did that without the Americans knowing? At what point did they
people have
permeate into the society?
People have cultural skills, like the Igbos are good in commerce. The Hausa Fulanese have successfully taken an exclusive grip of Nigerian politics. Okay. It's not by chance, it's not by luck.
Even if there are no economic dividends to their holding on to power for as long as they,
well, at least they are holding on to power. They did it by their cultural skills. The Jews, the Yorubas have their own hold on society, the economy, the stranglehold on the economies. The Yorubas, Igbos think we are rich. It's personal effort, commerce. But corporate wealth belong to the Yorubas in Nigeria. So the Jews have, the people that have suffered for so long, they wandered around Europe for 2,000 years. And they were discriminated against. So they learned to work together. They were good in finance, commerce, and all that. But after the Second World War, they resolved that there will be no more Holocaust. And to do that, they need to have a grip of America. So they control the American system. Jimmy Carter at a point was shuttling between Cairo and Tel Aviv. I think the Israeli capital now is Jerusalem.
Is it now Jerusalem?
Yeah, it used to be Tel Aviv.
Yes.
He kept trying to, there were some details in the peace agreement that needed to be worked out. And he went here, he went there. One of his aides, one of his assistants said, "Hey, Mr. President, the US President Jimmy Carter is suffering too much, trying to reach an agreement. Why don't you concede? Why don't you agree to what he's saying?" Menachem Begin retorted, "Oh, the Americans, they will go when they get tired." You see the mindset? The American, the president will go when he gets tired. And he got tired and
left.
So, because of the Jewish lobby that controls even black American politicians, the mayor of New York is a black man. Yeah. And in his right mind, there's no way he can welcome Netanyahu or by any stretch of the imagination support what is going on in Gaza. But he gave Netanyahu a hero's welcome. The mayor of the most important city in the U.S., a black man, not a conservative white man, is welcoming Netanyahu because the Jews have their strings to pull. If you don't do that, they will deal with him their own way. It can be political, it can be economic, it can be in any way. So the Jews have reduced the American government, especially Donald Trump, to a tool of Israeli ventriloquism. So it looks as though it's Trump talking, but it's the Israelis that are talking. And this was carefully planned, orchestrated, and done over so many years. And that's where the situation is. So Netanyahu is a tough-minded man. But the thing with politicians is that they knew what will happen. They have their men in New York. So their men must have sounded other diplomats at the UN, and they knew what to expect. So Netanyahu prepared for it. Okay. So it wasn't that he was surprised. He couldn't have been rattled. He couldn't have been swept off balance because of that, because he expected it, he knew it will happen. But what is happening in Gaza is terrible. The mass murder of the innocent, especially women, especially children, is just mind-boggling. But then the suffering of the Palestinians are beginning to yield dividend.
How?
The world is beginning to say, we recognize Palestinian state.
Yeah.
We recognize Palestinian state. And they are mostly directly connected to this unhinged murderousness of the Israelis, the murderous binge of the Israelis in Gaza.
Is it fair to say that the Israelis have now become the new Nazis in the 21st century?
Israel is the #1 terrorist state in the world, and Israel has no right being there in the first place. because in Nigeria, where our definitions of citizenship are different. Obama became the president of America, and the Kenyans had a national public holiday that a Kenyan is now the president of America. To an American, it would not make any sense. To an American, Obama is an American.
He's an American, true and true.
That's where he was born. To the Americans, to the Europeans, Europeans apart from the Germans, you are from where you are born.
Okay.
To the Igbos, you are from where your ancestors come from. There are some Igbos born in Yoruba and speak Yoruba and can't even speak Igbo. But to the Igbos and to the Yorubas, they are Igbos because that's where the parents came from.
Definitely.
So to the Europeans, the Jews have no business in the Middle East. You were born in Ukraine. You were born in Soviet Union. You were born in Germany, in Spain, and you returned to Palestine to talk about Palestine is my hometown. Palestine is our place. It makes no sense at all. So you can be claiming, I listened to a woman talking about God's promises to Abraham. Therefore, that the Jews should live from Iraq to the present day Israel because of God's promises to Abraham. But she forgot one thing, and I was stunned by that level of ignorance. Don't you know that Abraham is also the father of the Arabs? Abraham is the father of Ishmael and father of Isaac. They say Isaac was the promised child, yes, but he was also the father of Ishmael. Therefore, the children of Ishmael and the children of Isaac have the right to live in God-promised area to Abraham. That is, if we go by the Bible. The Bible is a wonderful document. God's messages, God's inspirations come to us perfect. But by the time it goes through our imperfect frame, it gets diluted. That's why different people interpret the promises of God or prophecies of God differently. Okay? So, but if we keep going, the thing is that they have no business being there. And the mass murder of the innocent should stop.
All right, so let's take a look at, just before we call it a wrap on this particular segment, let's take a look at the death or the killing, the gruesome killing of Charlie Kirk, right? There's this conspiracy theory that it was the Israelis that gunned him down. And the reason is because Charlie Kirk, who was, of course, a very great speaker, at some point questioned the October 7 attack of the Hamas in Israel and said he has visited Israel lots of times. And he knows too well that these people are good with intelligence, that they knew that Hamas were about to attack, but they were complacent. They didn't even care because they wanted what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing today. So do you believe in that conspiracy theory?
I am inclined to, I don't have enough information to be cocksure as of to what happened, but I am inclined to believe that because to breach Israeli security is very, very hard. And to go in there and for such period of time, kill so many people, and matched out the hostages, it was too much of a military action for Israel not to know beforehand and not to intervene before the end of this military operation. So Netanyahu may have been looking for a pretext to annihilate the people of Gaza and take over Gaza. Israel, the conservative Jews, have a design to take over the whole of Gaza and West Bank, build a greater Israel. But the more level-headed Jews want to believe or think that it's better we recognize the Palestinians. That's the only way we can have peace. If Israel moves back to the pre-1967 war border, there'll be peace in Palestine. Some Palestinians will not be totally satisfied, but more than 90% of them will then tolerate Israeli existence in Palestine. But the conservative Jews do not want trouble. They believe that, do not want peace. By controlling America, we will ultimately somehow force all the Palestinians out and take the whole land because it's our biblical patrimony. Is what God gave to our father Abraham that we are legitimately to inherit. And Israel is using America to fight other countries of the Middle East, that is to quieten, to defang. Iraq was a threat to Israel. Yeah. After the war, Iraq went into chaos. Yes. They can't even get themselves together. Countless of fighting anybody. Yes. They want to do that in Iran. They want to do that in Afghanistan, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Syria, so as to secure themselves, so they can handle the Palestinians as much as any way they want.
But naturally, do you think all of this might boomerang?
It's beginning to boomerang.
On the Israelis?
It's beginning to boomerang. It can only boomerang. It must boomerang. Yes, because there's equity. There's inherent equity or strive for equity built in nature. South African appetite seems so entrenched, so immutable. But overnight, it crumbled. And it was like, hey, Mandela was released. He was negotiating with de Klerk. And at some point, they would disagree. His clerk will be shouting at him, pointing at him, be shouting at de Klerk, pointing at him. Finally, because they know they needed each other, they finally got it right. So I think that Israel resort to the law of the jungle will finally backfire on Israel.
Very well said. And one would wonder why someone like the Israelis that have gone through so much pain, in the hands of Adolf Hitler, would in turn allow that pain onto other people. Well, I truly do hope that what happened to Germany, especially with Adolf Hitler, will not descend on the lives of Benjamin Netanyahu and possibly cost them what they have gained all the while. Tochukwu will still be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. Nigeria at 65, how oil weakened the manufacturing and stalled growth. That in a bit is still Enterprise Weekend. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so very much for joining us. This is still Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our main conversation for today. Japan's rise as a global manufacturing powerhouse after World War II demonstrated how a focus on quality, efficiency, and productivity could transform a nation with few natural resources into the world's second largest economy. From cars to electronics, Japanese products dominated global markets, even surpassing America's General Motors with Toyota. However, Japan's momentum slowed as China and India emerged as stronger manufacturing hubs, leveraging their massive populations and labor force. The decline revealed that industrial power remains the bedrock of a sustained economic dominance, and that service economies, while valuable, often rest on a strong manufacturing base. Nigeria, however, failed to follow this path until the early 1970s. The nation thrived on agriculture and was even a net food exporter despite the Civil War. But the 1973 oil boom shifted attention from farming and manufacturing to crude oil revenues. Though industrial estates sprang up and multinational companies flourished when the naira was strong, the economy remained heavily oil dependent. The collapse of oil prices in the 1980s exposed Nigeria's weak industrial base, leading to factory closure and a flood of imports. I still have with me Tochukwu Ezukama to see through all that we have. Tochukwu, thank you so very much for hanging on.
You're welcome.
Yes, so Nigeria is about to be 65. Couple of days to come, October 1st. But let's get into, just before we get into what we've done right, what we've not done right, let's take ourselves back memory lane, 1865, when Sir George Gillard created the Royal Niger Company. And he sold it for 866 million pounds to the Royal Majesty, Queen Victoria, at the time. And that was when the British actually bought Nigeria for that said amount. And after then, we had the amalgamation of 1914, Northern and Southern Protectorate, and lastly, we had our independence in 1960. Now, do you think all of those culminated to who we are today as a people that are not steadfast?
You mean colonialism?
Yes, exactly.
Well, colonialism has been an inherent element of history. The Romans had, the Greek had colonies. Even the Persians had colonies. The Greek had colonies. The Romans had colonies. The French. Every country, I mean, across board, most successful countries had colonies. And even if you study African history, you might find that some African kingdoms try to, even you, I think the Edos colonized their neighbors and influenced them culturally.
Awori, of course,
influenced them culturally.
That colonized Aworis in Lagos.
You go to those Igbos that are joined they call God Osa, which is this Edo word for Osa Nebua.
Yes.
They borrowed it from Edos. So maybe they call, and up to today, the Oba of Obi of Abo, the Obi of Asaba, get their approval for their coronation from the Oba of Benin. So it was some form of colonization. So there's nothing wrong with British colonization. And the British built wonderful institutions in Nigeria. And those institutions they built in Nigeria and their other colonies provided the launching pad for greatness in some countries of the world. And maybe the basis, or no, not the basis for failure, but those that could not use it and failed were blaming the British.
Yes.
My father was born in 1920. Until he died, he still remembered with nostalgia his visits to Ienu Hospital that was built by the Anglican missionaries. He was a kid, and when he got sick, he went to the hospital. The way the white nurses treated him still kindles fond memories in his mind till he died. But for me, I remember with nightmare my visits to Enugu Specialist Hospital in the 70s. So the white man built the hospital in a way to care for Nigerians. But after independence, the Nigerian medical doctors have vulgarized the whole place, turned it upside down.
Is it the medical doctors or the system?
The system. I deal with medical doctors and nurses. So whatever the background factors were, I do not know. Okay, my father dealt with nurses and doctors. Okay, the mindset, the modus operandi of Nigeria has turned everything upside down. My mother, my father, both of them can read Igbo. But I tell you today that most Igbos my age or younger cannot read and write in Igbo.
Very well.
So the British man who came to destroy, the British colonialist with all his evil intentions, the British colonialist with all his murderous intentions, studied your own language, alphabetized it, and taught it to you, and emphasized the need for you to learn it. I was told about my grandfather and his poetic writings, especially in Igbo. My grandfather wrote and read Igbo. My father, my mother wrote and read Igbo. Today, I can barely read Igbo. Those younger than me cannot read at all. So who is killing the system? The British man? They did us so much good. Yes, the British colonialism did us so much good. Our problem started when the colonialists left, and then the Nigerian factor came at work to work. India has lifted itself, or almost lifted itself, from a third world country to a first world country. Its economy is almost surpassing that of Japan.
Yeah.
Malaysia is doing exceptionally well. These are countries that were colonized by the British, that built on the system the British left.
The same system.
The same
that we
system,
have.
yeah. Okay? Ghana was at a point of collapse and disintegration until they got it right. Now they are doing better. So the problem of Nigeria is a problem caused by Nigerians, not colonialism, not the white man, not anybody. The man in Burkina Faso, what's his name? Toure.
Ibrahim Traore.
He's doing an outstanding job. Is the white man stopping him? Has the white man stopped him? So let Africans sit up. Let us stop blaming others for our problems. 9 out of 10 times, a man's problem is not caused by his friends, not by his enemies,
Really?
not by his relatives, but by himself. So for you to make progress, you must introspect and say, what is wrong with me? Where did I go wrong? There's a saying that there are too many ways to succeed, but only one way to fail. And that only one way to failure is blaming others for your problems. We better stop blaming people for our problems. Look at the amount of money that got squandered, got wasted, got spoiled in this country over the last few decades. The white man had nothing. The missionaries sent people to school, gave them scholarship. People from Europe, they went into deep villages, trekked into deep villages, built schools, hospitals, put people through school. The system worked. That was in a TV program. And one young lady called in and said, my father told me that when the white man ruled us, everything that worked in England worked in Nigeria. There was water. Not borehole water. Water from a water system built for the whole city. Electric worked. Street lights worked. Primary schools worked. Everything worked. And now we have destroyed everything, including our universities. And now students, professor want to sleep with a student to give him good grade. Did the white man teach us that? So enough. It's time we shut up and sit up and deal with our problems.
Now, you said let's introspect and look at ourselves and see where the problem is. The Japanese have this popular adage that when the head is rotten, the body go with it.
Simple. It's all with leadership.
Beautiful.
Everything starts and ends with leadership, because the masses do not think. The masses follow. Like I say time and time again, just as children subliminally behave like their parents, the masses subliminally behave like their leaders. It's a question of leadership, period. Like Chinua Achebe once wrote, that the problem of Nigeria is a problem of leadership.
Now, let's take a look at the problem of leadership at this point. Of course, the man in charge currently is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. While he was, of course, grazing the Olu-Ibadan in Ibadan, and he made a statement that has gone viral now. He said that that the suffering of Nigerians, okay, would reap dividends. He didn't say our suffering. He said your suffering. So he had no reason to take part of it, because of course we know how he does. He is whenever he's sick, he goes to France and the UK. So it's right to say you're suffering because it's not part of it.
Yes.
So don't you think that that is even the beginning of the problem that we have, when leaders exfoliate themselves from the people and say your suffering is making things good?
Well, I congratulate him for being honest. At least it's our suffering, not his. And he stated it. Yes. He didn't say, he didn't pretend to be part of the suffering, because he's not.
Yes, he's not,
so
obviously.
I wish Nigerians would start telling the truth,
yes,
even when it's painful. So, yes, it's our suffering, because when the president of Ghana, I don't remember the exact one.
The current one?
No, the one that died. He
Is
died
it Lawrence?
No, the civilian president.
Okay.
About 3 or 2 presidents before this one.
Okay.
He died in Ghana, not overseas. And the foreign medical, what do they call medical tourism?
Tourism, yeah.
Okay. It's a major problem that must be dealt with. because you should identify with the problem of your people. You have been elected to serve your people. And if you believe in your people, if you're responsible to the responsibilities or the expectations or the demands of your office, you cannot leave the Nigerian health delivery system to deteriorate to the point of seeming like a war-torn country, because the social indices in Nigeria is comparable to that of Somalia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, where there is war or where there were prolonged, protracted wars over the years. So you leave these things to fester, to falter, and then you go overseas even to treat just an ear infection. Okay, so it's not helping the case. You're telling the masses, I am not a part of your suffering. You are in this by yourself. So, but it's very, very sad, because that's the way leadership has been in Nigeria, and it's been most disastrous to our morale. It's been most disastrous to our patriotism, commitment to our country, because people are behave like their leaders. So if your leader doesn't care about the country, you can go to hell. I don't even care. I think there was this case of violence, the killing of so many people in the north. And it happened once, twice, and thrice. And Tinubu remained overseas on vacation. Like, I don't care. I'm not a part of this. So that feeling filters down to the ministers, to the PAMSECs, to the university vice chancellors, and down to the whole society. So if you want to get people loving their country, working for their country, believing in their country, and being willing to advance the interest of their country, there are some basic things that must change. But the way it is now, it's nobody really cares. So we are where we are.
All right, so let's take a look at leadership, which is at the core of what we should be talking about, especially as we celebrate Nigeria at 65. In the last 65 years, we've had 4 republics, with the 4th, 2nd, 3rd, and currently what we have right now. And in between that, we've had series of military administrations, you know, from the days of Aguirre to Gowon to Murtala Mohammed, Obasanjo, who again now, Buhari, Babangida, Sani Abacha, Abdul Salam, Abu Bakr, and so on. Tochukwu, I grew up in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. In those times, it was the military, and I knew that I enjoyed the dividends of democracy. You can turn up. I remember when we get to primary school, then drinking water in the primary school was excellent. In fact, we loved. We hoped to get to school so we can drink water from the tap because it was always sweet. There's something about that tap water.
Clean,
clean and awesome, right? At that point, nobody, I can't remember if any home had generator at the point.
No.
Electricity was fair, right? And lots of other things. Security was there. So is it fair to say that the democracy that we enjoy, or do we even enjoy it? It's not it. And military should be better, but should be masked in another way that is not looking like military, but these people should be in charge.
You made an interesting point that paradoxically, under military rule, we had the dividend of democracy.
Yes.
And then in the democracy, we have no dividend of democracy. That's the Nigerian factor. Nigeria is an upside world country. It's a wild scene of confusion. So that's why you have everything upside down. First of all, we have to realize that the white man laid the foundation. And after the white man left, we have very responsible, committed, devoted leaders, almost incorruptible leaders. Nigeria is a corrupt country and will remain a corrupt country for historical reasons. So in the days of Zik or Barawolo, Tafawa Balewa, the system was corrupt, but tolerably corrupt. Politicians stole maybe 5%. The incorrigibly, the notorious thieves stole maybe 10%. Okotiebo was accused of stealing 10%. These days, a contract will be over-invoiced 200% of the cost, and the whole money is taken and stolen. Okay? So, but when the soldiers came, the early soldiers were, would I say, not revolutionaries. Yakubu Gowon was not a revolutionary. So he followed the system. So the early civilian leadership, First Republic, managed, tried to improve on what the white man left, and he did an exceptionally good job.
Okay, really?
Okpara,
From 1960 to
66,
1960.
the military coup was wrong. The military coup was terrible. That prowling around the night and murdering the innocent for whatever idea was wrong. It was misplaced. And that was where our problem started. So when Okpara and the economy of Eastern region was the fastest growing economy in the world. You see, those regions were semi-autonomous centers of power. So the premier could do his own thing economically. It was just in defense and foreign affairs that they had no control. But things like education, health, and a number of areas they controlled. So when the military came, Ironsi was not a revolutionary. Nzogwa and his group were revolutionaries, but were not given the opportunity. They failed. So they went along with what the civilians built. Gowon did the same, and Gowon's concern was with the war. After the war came the oil boom. His concern became how to stay in power indefinitely and pacify the people with the excessive money at his disposal. I guess the revolutionary was Murtala Mohammed, who died a short while after. But after Murtala Mohammed, I think the slide really started under Shagari.
Okay.
But the slide started under Shagari because the wrong things have been done by the military. The military has destroyed the system, but the lingering legacy of the British and the First Republic politicians continued for a while. A car runs, if you're driving your car and the engine turns off, it can still carry you for 1 mile, 2 miles, if you just let it roll, especially on flat land, okay? So that was what that was happening under military rule. Things had gone bad, but a tap's water system will not break down overnight. It will take a while, so and so on and so forth. So under Shagari, the slide came. The standards of the politicians fell dramatically. Like the Azikiwes, the white man did not care about money. It was about knowledge, enlightenment, decency, high moral values. But when Shagari came back, the military has vulgarized the system and everything was money. Oil boom plus military mindset. The military lived very rough life because anything can happen anytime, okay? So that was when it started. Buhari and co came to stem the tide, but was removed quite immediately.
So is it fair to say that Buhari repeated what Nzogu did?
You can be a revolutionaries come in different ways. And I'm using the word revolutionary for lack of words. A reformer, yeah. Okay. They came with a reformist mindset. And Zogu and Co were revolutionaries. If you read Ademoyega's book, they were starry-eyed optimists. They were motivated by their ill-digested dosage of socialist doctrine. They were young men who didn't know that much. And they were sophomoric. The little they know, they thought they could change the world with it. But it failed. Buhari at least and Idiabo were reformers. Murtala Mohammed and Obasanjo were reformers. But after the death of Murtala Mohammed, everything went back to the way it used to be. But it was Babangida that did a number on Nigerians. He ruined everything. He really because he's a thief. Is it so? When a public thief gets into a public office, everything turns to thievery. Babangida was, do not challenge my power. Whatever you choose to do to make money is your business. That's when banks started failing. You set up a bank, you collect billions of naira from people, you steal all the money from the bank will collapse and you run away. Hey, so 419 came, steal from the white man, steal from anybody, selling of body parts came. Okay, So anyway you make your money, have your fun, but don't challenge me.
But why did Babangida overthrow Buhari? What was the reasons?
I don't know, but the system was too draconic for him and his friends and business partners. Abiola Finance, according to stories.
Yeah, of course,
that
they did.
coup.
Yeah,
And who was Abiola? A capitalist, a hard-nosed capitalist. And Didiabo and Buhari had time for nobody.
Yes.
They wanted to move. Their approach was draconic. They wanted to move the country forward. So would that appeal to a capitalist that is addicted to money making, irrespective of the way it's made? And so I don't know their reason, but after Babangida, there was a total moral and ethical collapse of the Nigerian society. Then the politicians came using that as their moral compass, got things even worse. So
but just before we get into the Fourth Republic, which of course you talked about the politicians coming on board, between 1995 and 1998, when General Sani Abacha died, in that period, what would you make out of Nigeria, economy and all?
The foundation has been laid. Abacha was an extension of Babangidaism.
Okay.
The foundation of steal and don't challenge my power has been laid. Do whatever you want to do. Abacha was into holding the country politically. There was nothing about, there was no attempt at improving anything moral. The moral squalor continued, festered, and pervaded the whole place. There was no attempt at cleaning up that. And Obasanjo got things even worse, and so on and so forth. So we are on down this slippery slope, you know, steadily, continually draining into an abyss, you know. So what we need is someone that can at least arrest the descent. Okay. And then we think of how to dig ourselves out of this hole that we are in.
Now, it's very obvious that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not that person. In my opinion, I don't know what Nigerians think about it, because from evidence of what we have seen, he's been in power for 3 years, and we've borrowed more than we are spending. And,
with nothing to show for it. You've taken up subsidy. Yeah. So evidently you're saving a lot of money. We don't see the effect of the money that is being saved from subsidy. And you are borrowing and borrowing. So things are getting harder and harder. School fees are becoming more expensive. You're taxing us on everything. Social media, what they call
tax. Which of them now?
Not social media.
Fuel tax?
Everything is, they are thinking of 12.
Fuel tax.
So if you saved so much from removal of subsidy, Nigerians will feel it. Then you won't have the need for all this borrowing. You won't have the need for all this taxing of everything. So it's one monumental hoax. We are being taken on a jumbo ride. And the solution is not in sight. The solution is not in sight. The average Nigerian activist, political activist, social activist is compromised. Is for public drama. They go to the back and they get settled by the governors, the ministers, the president. Everybody is after money. The church talks money, not salvation anymore. Jesus Christ came to reconcile us unto God. Jesus Christ came for our salvation. No church preaches that these days. Everybody's talking about sow seed and get rich. Yeah. Sow seed and get rich. But that's nothing, it has nothing to do with the preachings of Jesus Christ. That's heresy. That's antichrist, you see. So the problem is deep, it's profound, it's complex, it's bewildering, it's bedeviling. And I don't know where the solution will come from.
Yes, of course, acceptable. It's hydra-headed, multifaceted and all. But looking forward, let's maybe distill some certain personalities and see if possible there could be a solution here. Now, let's peruse through Peter Obi, Showore, and who again now? Maybe let's say Mogalu, right? So, amongst these three, who do you think possibly is that reformer? Because you talked about reformist system that could get everything all sorted out and possibly take us back to what it used to be when we were handed over the independence, right, in 1960.
Yes.
With the first republic.
Who is the reformer? Well, Showare was a publisher. I think he still publishes Sahara Reporter.
Yes, he is the publisher.
And for a long time, he was in this dalliance with the powers that be, hobnobbed with the powers that be. Because Sahara Reporter became very successful, not by printing all those things it was printing on the internet. A number of people started printing it way before him, and they can barely make ends meet. Yes. So it was his hobnobbing with the powers that be made him what he is. I was looking at his school fees, the school fees he pays for his son. Yeah. So to pay that kind of money yearly, just for one son, you must be a very rich man. Where did the money come from? Question mark. Morgan, who speaks elitist English, carries himself like he's a pan-sophist, like he's all-knowing. But I don't know him. He has not demonstrated any experience in leadership. Has not led a local government before.
Do we necessarily have to get there to show that we are great leaders?
No, you don't have to, but for a layman like me, who do not know you personally, and you have not tried to sell yourself or your programs to me, how will I know what you will do? But if it's a man that has a track record, even if I don't know him personally, he has not tried to reach out to me as a politician to demonstrate his policies and whatever, I'll go by his track record. So Showare, I can go by his track record. Morgan, I can go by his track record. Morgan, who speaks like a fella say he speak Oyibo pass Englishman.
Well, he's very informed. You can't blame him for that.
So he speaks Oyibo pass Englishman. That's all I know about him. He dresses well, carries himself well, strut around like he has the erudition of a university professor.
Yeah, he is.
And the effortless grace of grace and style of a movie star. But that's all I know about him. I can carry myself like a university professor. I can carry myself with the effortless grace and style of a movie star. But does that make me a leader? So of the three, I only know about the track record of Peter Obi. And I've met Peter Obi a few times. One was when he was still going to court in the US. I asked him a question. He promised to answer my question in private and came at the end of the event to answer my question. The other time,
US?
Yes, before he became governor, when he was still going to court, challenging Ngige's victory. The other time we went to his house with some friends and they have met him. I realized that he's an honorable man. Unlike the average Nigerian politician, is a pathological liar. The average Nigerian politician is an impulsive liar. But I realized that Peter Obi is an honorable man. And also his track record shows he's not a saint.
Yes, but being an honorable man, does that cascade to being a good leader? Because people have said, lots of times that Peter Obi might be very prudent. He knows how to save, but he would not know how to build and make, areas look beautiful. Because he would rather love to save that money than build a world-class stadium that would host the world.
Well, let me ask you, the problem of Nigeria is profligacy. Our leaders spend money like there's no tomorrow. So is saving not something that we need? I mean, we were brought to this point because we have very corrupt leaders. Therefore, incorruptibility becomes a quality we need in our leader. We were brought to this point because of the profligacy, the wasteful spending of our leaders. Therefore, financial prudence, financial honesty becomes something we need in our leadership.
But Ochuko, there's a very big difference between prudence and being finicky. Peter Obi is finicky.
Your grammar don't they begin to scatter. So what is happening is that finicky. No leader has it all. there's been attempt to analyze leaders or talk about the qualities of leaders, and none of them has been accurate. Okay, some people think that a leader should be tall, handsome, self-confident, but some leaders are short and have no self-confidence. Some people think that I forgot who wrote this. He that should lead others must first control himself. So leaders think that a leader must be somebody of very high moral fiber. Keep to one man, don't womanize, don't drink. But some leaders were reckless womanizers. Okay, some people think a leader has to have foresight. So it is no clean-cut theory about leaders. Leaders generally have a few things in common. One is knowledge, one is guts, one is courage, and the other one is vision, and vision is the most important. Vision and courage, because if you have vision and no courage, you can't push your vision through. So vision, Fashola did an exceptionally good job in Lagos State.
Yeah, he did.
But he was just a lawyer.
Yeah.
But he had vision. If you have vision, you have experts in different areas that will key in your vision and get you the desired result.
Yes. And but they equally repeated the same
So he wasn't an architect, an engineer, an urban planner, but he did an outstanding job in those areas because they keyed into his vision. So Obi has vision, and people underestimate Obi. They think he's a weak man. No, you can't run. You can't dislodge Ngige from stealing the elections in Anambra State and get impeached 2 or 3 times. And each time he will be a weakling. So Obi is tough-minded, but have this aura of calmness. So of all the 3, I will pick Peter Obi because of his experience, because of his courage, because of his vision, and because of what the Soyinka say, we need a man who can be trusted with money, because he can also be trusted with money.
Very, very true. You know, we can go on this particular matter. We've had great leaders around the country who have done awesomely well. In 1959, Obafemi Awolowo would have used £250,000 he used to build Western Nigerian television to run off and do with it whatever he wanted.
The Liberty Stadium, the biggest stadium in
Africa, the Cocoa House and all. So he would have misplaced those money, but he used it for a good cause. And unfortunately, all those who went through free education under Obafemi Awolowo are the ones in charge as senators, as governors, and even the president that have debased our educational system, messed up our healthcare system, and rendered Nigeria to what it is.
But it falls back to the masses speaking. The masses must learn to speak out. But unfortunately, the masses cannot get anything done unless they are directed strategically. Irrespective of their number, righteous anger, their strength, they must be led by someone. And it's those leaders that will lead the masses against the injustice, the social injustice, the inequality in the system that are lacking.
Very true. All right, so a couple of days from now would be independence for Nigeria. Nigeria at 65, even if it's said that a fool at 40 is a fool forever. We do not know. Lots of people have compared our independence and our nationhood to that of America and have tried to juxtapose both. That if America is 200 and something years old, we are still at infancy, and therefore we should take our time to get it right. But unfortunately, countries like Singapore that got independence from Malaysia in 1965 are first world countries today. They didn't need to go through the 200 years of America, and today they are where they are. So it boils down to us, just like Tochukwu did say, it still boils down to us if we can get it right ourselves. Colonialists have come, they've done their very best, created institutions, laid the good foundation for us. It's rested on us to continue from that. And if we fail to do that, then we should blame ourselves. Thank you so very much, Tochukwu.
You're welcome.
For being here. Truly do appreciate you, and I enjoy your conversation every time.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful. All right, that's just about the time we have. We'd love to say thank you for making this a date. Please do well to follow us if you may. You can always find us at EnterpriseTVnews.com. You may equally rewatch this and equally share when you visit us at EnterpriseTV7. I am Henry. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a splendid weekend. God bless Nigeria. God bless you. I'll see you at the other end. Bye-bye.